We're going to get into short sale steps for about 10 minutes, then we'll pause for a small break, and then we'll get back to it, okay? Short sale steps, what to do and when to do it, all right? No falling asleep here, or we're going to write on you with permanent markers somehow. I don't know how we'll do that through online, but we'll do it. All right, what to do and when to do it. Okay, the steps. Prospect. You need to prospect. So somehow you're going to get that short sale, right? Then you need to collect the items from the seller and organize them. Okay, good luck with that. Just kidding. Pull a prelim now. So you have this potential client. You're not sure if you want to take the listing yet. Pull a prelim. Find out what you're getting yourself into. This is one of the times where you can find out if there's IRS liens, mechanics liens, past due HOA liens. They didn't pay for their fence. They didn't pay for their landscape and all that stuff. 6 mortgages, okay? That would be one you don't want to take. Now, you'll pre-qualify them based on what you see, and you'll accept or reject the client. You're not to accept every client, okay? Oh, I got a listing. Okay, look, if you want to hate short sales, go ahead and take a client that has all of that crap on their title. Chances are it's not going to get done anyway, because most of that stuff in most states will get wiped out through foreclosure, all right? And the bank would just as soon do that. List the property at the right price. I cannot stress that enough. I see too many people trying to appease the seller who's getting nothing because this was a short sale and list it too high. And we'll talk about that. Then you need to do a market analysis. And we're going to break these down, obviously, but we're going over an outline of what we're going to cover after the break. Do a market analysis in a BPO. Okay? Some people do that when they go and talk to the seller or whatever. Whatever you do, you go in there and you find out every repair, everything wrong with that house, what it's got to be priced at to sell it in under 30 days. Your goal is to get an offer within 30 days. That's a legitimate offer. That's your goal. Okay? I don't care where you live. You could live in up the top of the mountain here that I'm looking at out my window. And if it's priced right, someone's going to buy it. Okay? Unless you're not in the MLS and nobody knows about it except for you. Okay. Submit to the lender if the bank will preset price, all right? So do your analysis, get all this stuff, list the property, get a BPO ready for the bank. Submit a non-offer or a preset price package to the lender. Preset pricing would include FHA files, HAFA files, some state programs, and B of A co-op. Otherwise, if you're not submitting that or initiating a file equator, okay, you would then, if you don't submit it, you don't submit the package at that point, and we'll talk about when to do all that, but this is just an overview. You will then receive a normal offer after you list the property. So you'll just receive it the normal way, okay? You'll put on the MLS, as you would anyway, and then you receive an offer. Sometimes you get an offer before you're even ready to submit your pre-approved price package to the lender, okay? Yeah, that's a good thing. Never be upset about receiving an offer. Once you receive an offer, then you need to get an estimated HUD from title or escrow, and you need to make sure these people aren't taking 3 or 4 days. If they are, you need to go somewhere else. I'm sorry. You got to remember, there's a time bomb ticking here, and it's called the foreclosure sale date. You don't have time to mess around with people who are slow. All right? Okay. What you need to do now, after you get your estimated HUD, you already have everything from the sellers. You need to quality control the file. I mean, go through everything. Figure out what that negotiator is going to see and what they're going to hit on or what they're going to comment on in the file. Then you need to stack the file. And if in between all this happening and getting an offer and everything else, the bank statements are now older than 30 days late, or the pay stubs are older than 30 days late, you need to get new pay stubs, new bank statements. Everything needs to be within 30 days. Okay? Then you write a cover letter. All right? So all of this is called QC the file. Get it ready to go. Stack it, QC it, refresh it, write your cover letter. Now you submit it to the lender. Okay? You submit the authorization and all the packages. Now, if you've submitted a pre-package, you would have done all that before, and we'll go over that in depth. Or you upload it into Equator. Okay? Follow up, update the file every 3 days. You call. If you're not calling the bank every 3 days, we're gonna make you come to detention. All right? Not once a week. Too much stuff can happen from week to week. All right? You call on a Friday because your client, everybody's bugging you to find out what's going on, and then you don't call till the next Friday, They say, oh, just call back next week, and then you call back the next Friday. So much stuff could have happened Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday that you might have missed. You have to call every 72 hours. That's it. All right, or else detention. All right, now you negotiate. You might have to dispute their value if they're countering back or they're telling you that it came in at $400,000 when you know it's worth $300,000. You're going to need to sharpen your pencil. I mean, go back to the buyer's agent. All right, you need to get the best offer. You need to settle or sharpen the pencil. Could be cutting some of the fees that the buyer wanted. I want everything. I want brand new silverware. I want everything. All right. Well, I don't think so. Sharpen the pencil. Get the best offer. Settle on the fees between the buyer and seller. You're negotiating with the bank now if they don't approve it right away. The bank is either going to agree to those terms after you're countering back and forth, called negotiate, or you're going to need to get a new buyer at those terms that were approved. So never be upset that you got a counter back and they didn't accept it. All right. Got a question here. Okay. All right. Someone said I was breaking up a little bit. Hopefully I'm not. I'm on a regular phone line. And GoToMeeting is sometimes a little bit wavy. Also, sometimes if you're on a headset, your computer, if you're running a bunch of stuff, and it gets a little bit wavy too. Okay? Okay, great. All right, everybody says they can hear me now. Good deal. All right, thank you. Agree to terms or get a new buyer at those terms that were approved. Okay? That, I hear so many people go, oh my gosh, this is horrible. They counter back and it's $4,000 higher. Okay. Well, yeah, maybe that buyer walked, or you couldn't get that buyer up $4,000 or $5,000 or whatever. But you know what? I don't care. I take that as a positive. I know what the bank is going to take now. All right. So I'm going to do some creative things inside MLS at this point. Bank approved price, or whatever. I know what that bank is going to take at this point in time. So all is not lost. All right. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. This is just the overview. So agree to terms or get a new buyer. Okay. Now the next step, all right, is close the file. Now I know I hate closings. I hate when I open escrow. It's just horrible. No, I'm just kidding. Close that file. All right. Get paid. Spend commission all in one place. You make that out to JASON. No, I'm just kidding. All right. We are going to take a 5-minute break right now. All right. I'll let you stare at those steps, and I will be back in 5 minutes. Actually, I'm probably just going to sit right here. If you have some questions, go ahead and ask them now. I can take about 4 or 5 over the next few minutes. All right. I'm going to answer one email for someone trying to get in, and then we will be right back. I'm going to go ahead and mute myself. Go ahead and ask your questions here. We'll try to get to them. And we'll see you back at 5. Be back at 10:06 my time, 9:06 your time, depending on where you are. Thank you. All right, now, prospecting, finding a listing. Here are the ways that you can prospect and find some listings. Real estate attorneys or BK attorneys, okay? They are very good ways, okay? Very good ways. They're the first sign of defense. That's when you know that something's wrong. BK attorneys and real estate attorneys, so I would market to some of those. CPAs, they're the ones doing the taxes. So a way to approach this is, look, I'm going to be referring you all of my clients that have questions about deficiencies, all right, or if they need a bankruptcy or for something, would you be so kind as to reciprocate? Okay, if you find someone out that needs, I'm short sale certified. That is, if you don't, leave here in the next 7 hours, go because we bore you half to death. But the fact of the matter is that it's all about, you scratch their back, follow all the rules, don't do anything illegal, no big steak dinners. But the fact of the matter is that they should feel confident to send a client to you, both the CPA and the attorney, because you're going to send them for tax issues that your sellers have, and the real estate attorneys for deficiency issues. Okay, all right. Other agents, okay. Insurance, other agents. There's a lot of agents out there that are losing their homes, okay? So you could say, and they can't get a commission on their deal. So, you could talk to them and say, hey, well, we'll handle this for you. Insurance agents, people that aren't paying their policies, they know that the home they're letting them go. There's forced insurance. It's a good way to get it. Mortgage company, people calling mortgage companies every day going, can I refinance? They're like, you could have like 4 years ago. Oh, wait, you already did. And you took out 100% of your loan, now your house is worth half as much. There's a lot of people calling there for refinances still. Loan mod companies and mortgage companies, if the loan mod doesn't get turned down, the loan mod gets turned down, which about 80 or 90% of them do over time, with a 74% redefault rate, they're a good source of listings. Title farm list, subprime loans, NOD filings, a lot of people get those and mail to them. Pre-NOD leads, okay. Pre-notice of default leads, all right. Mailers, sending out mailers. We find on mailers the best thing that works the best is not postcards per se. They are the least expensive, and sometimes that's all you can do, so that's better than doing nothing. But we find a handwritten note is always best, maybe a manila folder with a handwritten note, something that looks out of the ordinary, maybe something that looks like a birthday card. Okay, anything you can do to get them to open it, all right? Write on the front that there's $5 inside and put in a Monopoly money. Just kidding. All right, door knocking. I recommend mace, ladies, and Colt 45s for the men. No, I'm just kidding. You got to be careful when you're door knocking, but I know a lot of people who do door knock, especially when a notice of default is filed. A lot of times the home is vacant, so you're not talking to anybody. However, sometimes they're not. It just helps. The easiest thing to do is nothing. Okay, the easiest thing to do is nothing. And so, and I'm talking about the seller of the home. So if the seller of the home is faced with late payments, the easiest thing, the path of least resistance, is to do nothing. All right, so door knocking is a good way to introduce yourself, hand them maybe a half a package, something about the difference between short sales, foreclosures, loan mods. I used to do, when I had time, in Palm Springs, we had a TV show for, I think it was 8 or 9 month contract. So pretty much I was a prisoner for 8 or 9 months. It was on the weekend. It was for an hour. It was called, we talked about loan mod, short sales, etc. It was a hit. It was a really good show. I got a lot of business from it. But, it was really one of those things where, I mean, you're tied to that. I mean, you basically can't go anywhere for 9 months. However, I'm not saying I didn't have a life or anything. But the fact is, I really enjoyed doing it because I really helped a lot of people. If there's a marketing letter, and don't turn to page 47 right now because I do these. This is the same PowerPoint I do live, but you'll have all of these things. There's a folder inside your Dropbox called marketing letters, and you can turn to those later on. It's the first step to a short sales prospecting. Okay, whether you get the deal by referral or from your marketing, you need to get the seller to commit to you. If you don't ask for the sale, you're never ever going to get it. So you got to remember that anytime you're selling, you have to ask for the sale. And they say sometimes it takes up to 7 times. Ask for the listing, ask for the listing. Do something that someone else isn't. That's typically the way it is. And building rapport, doing something that the other people aren't doing, is invaluable. It may be the old way because it's not the Twitter way, or you're not building the electronic rapport. But there's nothing like a face-to-face meeting, a handshake, in doing that. Okay, call me old-fashioned, but it really works. All right. Once you have a prospect, you need to collect items from them. All right? So the first thing that you need to do, all right, is collect items from the seller. Now, don't turn to any pages now. You're going to see it up on the screen here, but you're going to have this. I'll send you in your Dropbox, you're going to have the whole booklet, so then you can flip and reference these pages. Liz's, we'll get that. That'll be after the class. The reason why I don't do it now is because I don't want you flipping through that. I want your eyes on the screen, okay? And later you'll have this. So you'll have the PowerPoint, then you can go back and reference the pages. Sound good? All right. Let's look at a short sale application or short sale listing package. Okay, this is the one that I send out to my clients. This is the one. So those that I process for, we are starting to open up our processing center to other people. Okay, we process for some very large brokerages, and we are now expanding staff and training negotiators. We've already done that, so we're ready to go. We're just getting that implemented now. So this is what I send out to my sellers that are coming in, for my agents that are going in there. So you could emulate this or type this into Microsoft Word, make your own package, whatever you want to do. You have this in your Dropbox. It's just right here. So you'll have your listing package. You'll have your listing packs, okay, and then you'll have your right here. Okay, these are all your listing packages right there. Okay, so. All right, so you'll have those. Hold on just a second. Oh, goodness. Okay. All right, so you'll have that in your listing pack generic. All right, so you'll have that right there. So what you're going to see is you're going to see your generic listing pack. So you can send these, and I put it in Microsoft Word so that you can actually, you can get in here and change that around. If you want to put like my super duper short sale application or something in here, you can go ahead and change all this stuff. Or if you want to put it in a different format, you can do that, okay? So you've got that. But anyway, here it is. Here's what I send out to the sellers that we're processing for. We're doing the negotiations. Here's what I send out. Congratulations. You've just taken an important step to saving your home from foreclosure. Please fill out and sign all forms attached here to and collect all the applicable items on the checklist as soon as possible. We cannot stress enough the time is of the essence. Please pay close attention to the forms that we have sent because some of them require a notary. We're here to help you close your short sale in a timely manner with little or no frustration. There are a few things to remember when applying for a short sale. One, I don't know why they call it short. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so we need all the items that we request from you in timely fashion. Okay, it's so important. I mean, you have a sale date coming usually. Okay, as we could be there could be a pending foreclosure sale date if you're late on mortgage payments. Your bank will not stop calling you if you're late on payments and you enter into a short sale. That collection department or billing department is completely different than the loss mitigation department. They don't even know that the other one exists, all right? So if you think that one person that calls knows that you're doing something or what you've done inside of Equator or on your short sale or whatever, you're wrong, all right? The left hand does not know what the right hand is doing. They're two separate entities. They're not even in the same building. All right, please check with us before answering any questions that your bank may call and ask. We need to make sure that we're all on the same page and that we are negotiating. We do not. You get these sellers sometimes that they just want to go out and they're like, I'm the boss. I'm going to take charge of my bank. How many short sales have you done? None. So why am I listing your home and doing this for you? You just have to take that dominant person and just be like, look, this is what I do for a living. I know what I'm doing. Just let me do it. Okay? If the bank calls, be a sponge. You accept information into the sponge, but you absolutely do not give them any information. Yes or no answers. Do not go over budgets with them. Nothing. That is for me. If the bank asks you anything, say, I defer to my negotiator. I'll have them call you back. What is your information? All right? It is very important that you're truthful on your application. Okay? It is important to know short sales take between 30 and 60 days on average to get a response from the bank initially. All right? We will need to update pay stubs and bank statements throughout the process each time you get one. If your bank, now you are setting yourself up to succeed by getting this information to the seller from the get-go. There is no, all these people that just send over the bank app and have them fill that out and do not let them know what they're in for. You're doing yourself and your seller a disservice. If your bank calls you or sends you any correspondence, it is very important that we know when they called, what they said, and what they sent in the mail. Very important. Sometimes they're sending out solicitation letters, acceleration letters, notices of default, so you need all that stuff. Now these people, a lot of them have not opened up their email or their mail or email in a long time, all right? The other thing you might tell them too is, do you have an email? Yes. How often do you check it? Once a month. Well, you need to be checking it once a day, if not twice a day, morning and night. Okay, that's how I'm going to be sending you updates, communicating with you, etc. All right, you gotta set up the expectations. Make sure you put there all of your contact information so it's very easy for them to see. All right, what's next? I have a generic application here that they can fill out. All right. We don't need to go over every one of those, do we? Okay, it's just an application. All right, now, there are some important questions. Did the homeowner receive a notice of foreclosure or default by bank of attorney? When's the sale date? That important? Of course. Has the homeowner already received or tried to receive a modification of forbearance workout? Is the home in serious need of repair? If yes, please list the repairs here. Do you have more than one property? Yes. Why do I ask that? That's for you guys. Yes, they have another property. Okay? You know what? If they check yes to that, guess what? You may have another opportunity for a referral. Are you in bankruptcy or about to be in bankruptcy? If they go into bankruptcy during the short sale, you're going to have to stop your short sale. Has a sale, and you need to know that, because if they're planning on doing it next week, you might consider not taking a listing. Has the sale date been issued yet? Do you belong to an HOA? How much you past due in the HOA payments if yes? You got to know about HOAs. You got to know if they're past due, because the last minute you'll find out about this stuff, and it'll send your deal so far sideways you'll be so mad you did all that work and forgot to ask about HOAs. Have you received any short sale workout forms from your lender? You got to know that. Are there any liens or clouds on title that you know of? Did you get your first mortgage prior to January 1st, 2009? Do you owe less than $720? These are half of questions, okay? I'm setting this file up to succeed, baby. That's what I'm doing, all right? Now, you have to send out a short sale checklist, okay? I'm going to go ahead into I'm going to show you a checklist. It's a little hard to see there, so we're going to go ahead and go into the system. But when I make a checklist for my clients for a half a file, let's just say like this is, okay, all I do, and this is inside the software, what I do is you can have them fill out this thing right here. You can have them fill out this form right here, or if there's a lot of people on the seminar right now that have the software. So for those that don't, you can have them fill this out and you'll get this, and you already have it in your folder. But those that do have the software, so I have to do both. This is easy to see. This is the checklist. But those that do have the software, all you need to do is go in here and add a checklist document, okay? Select who you're assigning that to, whether it be the applicant or the bank. Sometimes the bank has to send you some stuff, the agent, the BPO people, or the closing officer. But if you want something from the applicant, you just click Applicant Docs, pick what you want from them. You want the listing agreement back signed from them, and then hit Save. And this will add a checklist document to the checklist right there, okay? And now that person will know, okay, that they've got to send in the listing agreement. All right, so this checklist not only is now on this form is not only, I didn't save that, this checklist item is not only in the applicant checklist, okay, but when the applicant logs in after they fill out their application, they'll see what they need to upload, and they'll be able to upload it right into the system, and then you'll have it in your uploaded files right here, okay, under listing agreement. All right, so it's nice. So we can set the checklist right there, okay? So some of the things that are very common for a half a file or Dodd-Frank half, I'll go back to the PDF. Lender short sale package enclosed, authorization letter enclosed, hardship letter, Q&A, Mars addendum, signed 4506. We'll go over this stuff later, but in other words, when you're setting up a file, you've got to give these people a checklist, okay? Initially, it just saves so much time. Incorporate that into your flow, all right? You've got to do that, okay? All right, now agents, what you're going to need to come in with. We're going to cover all this later, but here's what the agents need to do. So the seller now knows what you need to do, holding your feet to the fire. You need to have a hardship letter in there, okay, which is in there already, which is nice. So I send over a hardship letter. I send over third-party authorization from to sign right away. Again, this is all in the software. I send over a hold harmless form that our attorneys have drawn up and dumbed down, or they gave it to me and then I dumbed it down. All right, so that there's not hereto, aforementioned, blah, 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 all this lawyer speak. People can't understand that, okay? So I'll hold harmless so that you're not liable for any tax liability or deficiency judgments if they're in that state. All right, I've got a question here. Okay, it's a good question here. Okay, here's a question. What if the client does not have a computer and will not have access to one? What you need to do is you need to go over to Radio Shack and buy them one, or buy them a real shiny abacus. I'm just kidding. No, a lot of times I don't know who doesn't have a computer anymore, but there are some people who don't, and we do deal with that. What you would do is if they're in your area, the very best thing that you could do, okay, the very best thing that you could do is you could go over, okay, to their house. You could go over to their house, and you could give this information to them and help them fill it out, all right? That is what you could do, all right? If that's not something that you can do because they're a little bit far away and you can't make it for whatever reason in your schedule, you mail that to them. You just mail this thing over to them, okay, and you have them send it back to you if you have to do it the old-fashioned way. And there's nothing wrong with that, okay? I'm not saying computers are the answer, but computer definitely is better. You need to send over, we're going to cover this, but you need to send over Mars regulations, okay? No matter what, and they say, well, we're not going to force Mars regulations for real estate agents anymore. Look, I put them in my packages because I'm a processing company, and you know what? I'm going to over-disclose always, not under-disclose, quite frankly. And then I send over 4506T lastly, all right? So this is a listing package. You've got to have one of these. If you don't have one of these, you're selling yourself short, okay? You need to make sure you have one, and I'm giving you one, so you'll have one, but you need to make it your own, you know? You're going to need to make it your own. I'm going to put my example in there, and so you can see what I send, and then make your own up. You've got 90% of it inside there. You just have to add your name to it. Don't have my name on there, and you'll just be able to change that, and you'll have it. Send that over, all right? If you're using some kind of software, then that's already in there, so you don't need to worry about it. But if it's not, you're not getting the software, you don't have it, you're just doing one or two short sales, and just send it over to them. Email it over to them, fax it over to them, bring it over to them, have them come see you in your office, whatever, okay? But no matter what, you need to have them prepare all those items on that checklist that we just looked at. You need to arrange to pick up the docs or have them scan and email them over to you, okay? It really helps. And most of our clients have a computer and a scanner, one of them 4-in-1 scanners. Most of them do. But, hey, mail, fax, email, however you can get it. Just upload it into the system, just whatever. Just get all that stuff that's on that checklist, all right? The step before this was prospecting. So you prospected, you got a prospect. Now you need to look at everything that they have. So to get everything on that checklist, get this package filled out, get it all back, get it all in a pile, a nice neat pile, and start looking through it. All right, we're going to go over what you need from the seller. I wanted to jump into this. I used to have this in a separate section, but it was kind of like an hour or two from now, and might as well, I just stuck it in right here. I put a different color border on here, so you'll see a different color border in your PowerPoint. But I'm sending you a PDF of the PowerPoint. I do not give you permission to copy it in any way. It is copyrighted. Do not share that with anyone else that's not in the class, okay? If I see this floating around, I'm going to be a little ticked. All right, so from the seller, I've spent years developing it, and I don't need it to go everywhere. If you want to, share it with your processor or your transaction coordinator, et cetera, go ahead. Now, income documents. You need 2 years taxes, 2 months pay stubs, and if you're self-employed, a year-to-date profit and loss. So if you're self-employed, you're not going to be getting pay stubs in most cases unless you're an S-Corp and you're paying yourself, at which time you can show those, but they're also going to want a profit and loss. So 2 years taxes and 2 months pay stubs and a year-to-date profit and loss. That's your income docs from the seller. You need 2 months most current bank statements. If some bank tells you they want 3, you give them 3. In most cases, it's 2 months. Now, so right now, we would want, okay, October and September's, all right? If they got one that came 7th of November, we'd want the one that stated so, the most current. Because you got to remember, the date on those bank statements, when the bank gets it, has got to be within 30 days, or they're just going to throw your file to the end of the pile sometimes, or hold it up because they're going to be asking you to get all that stuff. How about you just get it to begin with, all right? So make sure everything's dated within 30 days. I cannot stress that enough. Also, make sure you have every single page of the bank statements. Cannot stress that enough. All right. Asset docs. Okay? Any other asset docs, etc., 401k. Mortgage coupons. Their most recent one. If they haven't opened their mail in a long time, they probably have like 12 things from Bank of America sitting there. Find the most recent one. That tells me the loan number, tells me if it's FHA, tells me if they have mortgage insurance. It's important to get that. You don't send that into the bank. Obviously, the bank doesn't need to see it, but you need to see it. Bank correspondence, including notices of default, notices of foreclosure, notice of trustee sale, etc. If you don't know about it, how are you going to counter-react or react when you find out about it? You don't want to be blindsided by anything in a short sale. Okay? Listing application filled out, which should include bank application and addenda. You already looked at that up above. Hardship letter, third-party authorization, 4506T for that year, list of repairs needed with invoice if possible. Make sure they know you need any notice of trustee sale that comes, notice of foreclosure that comes, notice of default that comes. Every time they get a new pay stub, you need it, and every time they get a new bank statement, you need it, throughout the entire process. I put that in my front page of my letter to them in my listing package, and you should too. All right? Now, hardship letters, okay? Everybody has a hardship. There's one in the listing package. You got to keep these short and sweet. We don't want any Grammy speeches, all right? I sympathize with every single one of our clients, but the fact of the matter is no bank is going to sit there and read a 5-page hardship letter. They don't have time. They just want 3 paragraphs. You need to put in what happened, why they cannot afford their home, what they've tried to do to resolve the problem, and how that's going. If they can afford their home, we need the reason why they're getting rid of it. Common sense prevails here, okay? Explain all potential red flags, okay? So if there's something that they know that the bank is going to look at, we would want them to address that in their hardship letter, okay? It's very important. Here's a hardship letter example. Okay. In your booklets that you'll be given, again, we don't want you flipping back and forth. We want your eyes up here on the screen, etc. But the hardship example is, I have one here as an example for you. We never thought we'd be writing a letter like this, but obviously life doesn't always turn out the way you or we thought. We've been trying to hold on, but realizing now we probably should have been turned to you for help long ago. At this point, our economic situation has become so drastic, we really have no other options. It's either short sale or our family, our home, or give it up to foreclosure. Here they are saying we're having trouble. You know, we tried to make it work, but now we should have started this a while ago, but now we want short sale. It's important that they say that. Okay? If they're currently in a modification, it's important to say that we no longer want to try to work out a modification. We want to do a short sale. All right? When we purchased our home, I was working full-time as a nanny, and my husband had a successful job as a financial advisor with Merrill Lynch. Our son was a few months old, and life was pretty comfortable. After about a year, I became pregnant again. This time I was very sick and had immediate complications. I could no longer work, and the family had to hire a replacement for me. About the same time, the economy started to weaken. My husband, working in the stock market and financial industry, felt every blow directly. Portfolios that he managed, etc. It's okay. So they said that they want a short sale. Now in the middle paragraph, it's talking about what happened. And in the last one, it said, I try to find work. So she's trying to get the way out of it. They're not just giving it up. This is a perfect hardship letter. It's a perfect length. It explains everything perfectly. I tried to find work to cover daycare. Didn't find anything. We trimmed everything but necessities from our budget. We stayed optimistic, etc. This is just perfect. You can read that. This is in your folder under hardship letter as well as some other examples. Tonight, you can look through all of this stuff, okay, during your breaks, whatever you want. The links have already been sent to you, all right? Okay. If you're wondering where any of this stuff is after the fact, these links were mailed to you last night. If you wanted to print off this PDF, you could have done so, okay? If you want to do that during the break, print off the PDF for notes, you can. If you don't have that link, email qc@shortsalemail.com, and she'll send it to you. All right, seller's income. Send in what the bank tells you only. Never ask. If they ask you for 09 taxes, do not send in 08 taxes. Oh, I'm just going to send in extra credit. No, you're not. All right, just send in 08. You've got to become vaguely familiar with pay stubs, profit and losses to see any potential red flags. What would a red flag be on a file? How about, all right, I have a hardship. I'm making less than I made last year, and their year-to-date is like $40,000 in January. Would that be a red flag, or would that make the hardship? That would be a red flag to me. The bills are $5,000 a month. He's made $40,000 year-to-date. Well, what happens in January and February with people who are, you know, on some kind of a incentive-based thing? What do they get in January or February every year? They may make $1,000 a month, but they get a large, it's called bonus. So they get a bonus in January and February, and it looks like they're making all sorts of money. However, that's all they're going to make for the rest of the year. So obviously they need to bide their time. They might get a $1,000 or $2,000 salary, etc., for the hours that they've worked or whatever. But this would need to be explained, okay? And that's why you need to become vaguely familiar with the pay stub, because you do want to look those over before you send them in. Also, on the income, the taxes that the sellers are providing to you, just have them put a John Hancock on there. Have them sign those taxes somewhere down on the bottom on the front page there. So usually there's a spot. Now, I know everybody e-files now. Some people still do it by hand, etc. That's fine. We don't want you to run down to the local IRS office and get a copy of your signed tax returns. That's not what we're asking you to do. Whatever you've got there, just have them sign it. That certifies that it's true and correct for right now. I need you to understand that. Banks are starting to want signed tax returns. Not, again, don't fly to Philadelphia or Washington, D.C. or Sacramento, wherever. Just get them to sign what they've got. All right, very easy. Okay, seller income type. Salaried, so some people are salaried. If they're salaried, they get a W-2. Okay, salaried might mean they're working by the hour. They're getting $400 a week or $1,000 a week or whatever. But in other words, at the end of the year, come January, by January 30th or 31st or whatever, they've gotten a W-2 in the mail, hopefully, okay? You need to send, so if they're salaried, you send in 2 months pay stubs and 2 years taxes, okay? You need to look at the pay stubs to make sure there are no discrepancies, huge bonuses, etc. Keep in mind that some people get paid monthly, some people get paid every 2 weeks, some people get paid on the 1st and the 15th of each month, all right? Why do I say that? The reason why I say this, okay, is that if the client has left blank the income amount, you're to look at the year-to-date income, but you're also to look at what they get every week, every 2 weeks, on the 1st, on the 15th, or every month. Okay, so if they get paid monthly, they get paid 12 times a year. If they get paid every 2 weeks, they get paid 26 times a year. If they get paid on the 1st and the 15th, they get paid 24 times a year. All right, so there's differences, right? I wonder if anybody could tell me if they get paid every week, how many times they get paid a year. No, don't tell me. That's a trick question. Hopefully everybody said 52. Okay. If not, you fail, all right? Just hang up. Just kidding. Okay. All right. If income continued, if they're 1099 like many of the agents on the phone are, or they're self-employed like many of the people on the phone are if you're a broker, etc., you need to send in full federal tax returns for 2 years, or a profit and loss and extension if the taxes haven't been filed, and a current year-to-date P&L. Let me explain this. This will be on page 66 of your booklet, okay? Full federal tax returns, all pages. Now, some corporations are like 600 pages of taxes. Would I send all that in? No. I would send in the first 4 or 5 pages, all the important stuff, and I would say, I've got all the schedules and everything you need. Just let me know what you need. Put that on your cover letter that you send in, okay? But if they're just, 15, 20 pages like most of them are, you want to send in the whole thing, okay? Please. But if they're hundreds of pages, I mean, seriously, there's a limit. The mistake people make, most agents make, is they have a scanner, and they put color scans, which are like 5 megabytes for 1 page, okay, which 5 megabytes is a huge amount of data. You should always scan at about 200 dots per inch. DPI, set your setting to the lowest setting and in black and white. No color necessary. And quite frankly, when you start putting a bunch of color stuff together, It'll never go through the email because it'll be too big, and it'll never go through most e-faxes because most banks are capped at 4 or 5 megabytes total file size. So if you're sending in a monster file, it's not going to go. All right? That's just because we've sent in tens of thousands of these over the years, and the ones that come back are the ones that are larger. So we use Paperport, and we reduce the size of these files. Okay? You should not scan in color, and you should not scan on a high DPI. It is not necessary. If you cannot read the copy that came in from the other agent, you should ask them for a more clear copy. Okay? Also, I'm going to throw this out there right now, and this is not in this training. Banks will not accept e-signatures on purchase and sale agreements for short sales. So if you're using DocuSign or anything like that, you need real live signatures. Okay? All right. Full federal tax returns. Now, in this case, 2010 should be done. So if I was sending in a self-employed person right now, I would send in 09 in 2010. If it was and a current year-to-date profit and loss from January 1st through November 15th today, okay, that's what I would send in. Now, some banks only ask for the last 3 months profit and loss. You just need to find out, look on their list, and go from there. Now, if it was prior to October 15th, which is the very absolute deadline for filing taxes if you had an extension. So say it was September 1st. The person had not done 2010 taxes. You would send in an 09 taxes for the self-employed person, a 2010 profit and loss, and a year-to-date 2011 profit and loss, and a copy of the extension. Does everybody have that? All right. It's all there if you need it, but all pages and schedules, unless it's huge, you got to remember that on every bank application, it asks for your gross income and it asks for your net income, most of them. Okay? Gross income is the receipts minus the expenses divided by however many months you make on the P&L. So you would put in this year's income, not last year's, what they've made year to date or what they're averaging monthly. When you try to figure out, because they haven't done their taxes yet this year, when you try to figure out what the monthly net income is, take the gross. So if you made $100,000 in gross receipts, the business did. All right, they've got $40,000 that they paid out to employees, parts, everything. So they've got $60,000. That is called your adjusted gross. So if you're trying to figure out what that is monthly, if it's the third month, then they've made $20,000 a month, the end of the third month. Now, if you're trying to figure out what the net is, figure out what their monthly net is, which would be $20,000, and you multiply that times 0.75. In other words, you're taxing them 25%, which is about the average. So you would put in $15,000 for a net. Okay? I'm not a CPA, but that's what the banks want to see. If you're wondering what gross income means for self-employed borrower, look at their profit and loss, divide by however many months after you take out the expenses, and then multiply that times 0.75 to figure out what the net is. That's what the bank's negotiators will do if you don't do it. Best that you do it. Now, unemployment. The last 2 months of stubs. Okay? Social Security, award letters, what we need. Retirement. What if the unemployment just started? Just get me last week's. Okay? Or get all of the ones you've got, but no more than 2 months. I think they come every 2 months. Social Security, get the award letter, the most current one. We don't want one from 1998. All right? Retirement and pension, get the most current statement or statements. Stock dividends. Now we're really getting down to some stuff that I don't typically show banks, but stock, because most people don't have this, but some do. Don't be deceptive. Quarterly and most recent statement. Now we're really getting down. I don't show rental agreements. I do if there's a whole bunch of other properties, and you'll probably have to too, but you can usually show a schedule, or that's on the profit and loss. Room rent, very rarely will they ask you for that, but sometimes they will. Room rent, man, if you're that particular, I guess you could put it on there, but it's pretty hard. Well, my brother Bob, he pays me about $75 a month. I think you don't need to put that in there. Whatever you want to do, whatever you want to document, do the best you can. If you can't get something, get a letter, explain why you can't. Miscellaneous income, however you can verify it. Okay? Common sense prevails here, people. Okay. So now we're back to the steps. Let me go back here so we don't forget the steps. All right? Okay. Whoa, I'm going way back. It's important. We prospected, then we got all the stuff. Okay? we prospected and we got all the stuff. Then we went through what we need from the seller, all the stuff we need from the seller, okay? All their income, all their assets, all that stuff, all right? Now I'm making you dizzy. So now we got all the stuff. We prospected, we got the stuff. Now we're looking at all the stuff. After review, so, okay, you need to review the prelim and the package from the potential seller and rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. 1, I'm going to run away from them, and 10, I want them right now. Might be they live way up in the hills, they don't have an email, they don't have a fax, there's no way to get them unless you go up there on a horse and buggy, that you don't want them as a client. All right? Decide now if you want to take this client versus the time versus reward equation. The amount of time I'm going to spend on this versus what my commission would potentially be if it closes, is it worth it? Anybody that's in a processing center and you're processing and you're only getting paid if the file closes, do you really want to take a look, a nightmare deal with 5 or 6 liens and all these subordinate liens that are, non-mortgage liens, HOA, all that? Do you want to do all that work, okay, for a small fee? You always have to take how much time each file is going to take you versus the reward of the file, all right? Okay. You need to list it at this point. Okay, you've gathered all the stuff, you pulled the prelim, you pre-qualified that client. Now you need to list it. If I would say if it's not over a 5 or 6 on that scale, 1 to 10, some people won't take it unless it's over 7 because they're inundated with business. Once you decide you're going to list it, list it. All right. Be confident with your short sale knowledge. Understand their stress. Part of their stress is caused by inexperienced short sale negotiators or short sale people, okay? Okay. Hang on, my GoToMeeting thing disappeared here. Hang on just a second. All right, there it is. All right, we still here? Good. All right, do not understand their stress and empathize. Listen, the easiest thing for them to do is nothing. So if you let them know what to expect up front, okay, things will go much smoother. Do not overpromise to them. The last thing that they need is for you to blow them a bubble just to get the listing, not understand their stress and empathize, and you're just going to end up stressing them out last second anyways, okay? You need to be able to, if you're going to list it, you need to know your short sale versus your foreclosure charts. Those are also in your box. Arrange to pick up all of the docs prior to or at the appointment. So you're going over there to the house to list it, all right? Familiarize yourself with the docs before you send anything over to a client, please, okay? Make sure they know you need every new pay stub, bank statement, bank letter going forward. I can't stress that enough. Just because you've listed it, it's not over for them, all right? They need to constantly update you, and you need to constantly update them, all right? I need to also reiterate, right now, you need to tell them that if for some reason they feel the urge to call the lender, that you need to be on a 3-way with them, okay? That would be a conference call, okay? Yeah, please. Now, I ask these questions, and people ask me, what are some of the things you could do to make the listing appointment go smoother? I'd like to ask some of the short sale experts that are there, go ahead and send it over to me on chat, not on question. Send it over to me on chat. What are some of the other things you could do to make the listing appointment go smoother? What could you do to make these people feel good? Okay. Is there anybody that would care to send that to everybody or just throw it out there? Okay. Nobody? Can you hear me? All right. So some of the things that I got private messaged were that let's see here. Some of the things said, yeah, let them know what it is up front. You bet. That's one of them. Okay. What else? Someone said have all the documentation that you're going to need and explain it to the seller. Yeah. Like I said, these face-to-face on these short sales, it's hard to do them. I mean, it's not hard to do them over the internet or over the phone. You know what? I mean, to me, what really goes smoothly is having a cooperative seller. And a cooperative seller oftentimes starts with a cooperative agent or an agent that takes the time to go over there. Look, you're going to make $5,000 or $6,000 off that file. You know, if you can, run over and meet them. You know, I mean, believe me, I've done them. Believe me, I've done them over the internet. You know, someone also said you could let them know about the timeline. That's great. Yeah, let them know the timeline. Let them know this is going to take 120 days, sometimes 90 days. You know, we're averaging between 30 and 60 days to a counteroffer from the bank. Okay, in some cases under 30 days. Okay. Someone else, Mark said, have comps for the property and about how long it should take to get an offer. That's great. What you're going to do to market and sell it and ease of showing the property. I think that's great advice, Mark. Thank you. I really, yeah, I mean, that's great. Have comps for the property. Let them know how long it should take. Okay, what to expect, you know, all of that stuff. What you're going to do to market and sell it, because look, they're scared about the foreclosure sale date. Okay, so yeah, so that's a great, that's great. Thank you very much for your participation on that, guys and gals. That was great. It's a solve designed to, you know, help you understand, you know, what some of the other people are doing, and you know, we're a short sale community here, and that's what we're trying to do. Okay, another thing. It's a good thing to make sure all your forms are legible, and make sure, just for me as a processing center, make sure every spot for a signature is signed and dated and initialed. My quality control department catches probably 5 a day of the, when I say fully executed, I don't mean one signature. That means all those lines on there, the little ones are for initials and the big ones are for signatures. So, and if some of them are blank, you might want to just double check that it's not, that it's supposed to be blank. Certainly there are some that are. But it's a good idea to make sure, especially because when the bank gets all these things, there's nothing worse than having to go back to the seller and say, oh gosh, I forgot to have you sign a spot and it's held up your file. Okay, make sure you have your short sale addendums and all the bank addenda and everything. All right, I want to talk now about setting price. Someone else had a Sandra had, yeah, Sandra, on my, it's funny, on my question things, it cuts the name off or brings it down to the next line on here. It's like you need a magnifying glass. Sandra said, reassure them of just how many people are going to see their personal data. You know, that's really good. You know, they're giving out their social security number to you, and if you don't build the rapport with them, then, you know, the chances of them, you know, wanting to give you all that information or just kind of, you know, having that barrier up or that guard up, you should just be like, look, I'm going to see it. I'm going to store your stuff online, or I'm going to store it in a safe place under lock and key. You know, it's not just going to be out on my desk at the office where everybody can get into it, etc. Because, you know, they're giving you their life, their bank statements, their social security, their, you know, their social security numbers, dates of birth. I mean, someone could take that application and go do identity theft, I guess. So it's a very good idea to reassure them that everything's being held securely. Okay, setting price. All right. Although, okay, do not set the price too high. This is about selling the home. This is a distressed property, okay? Set the price just below the other home. Now, there's some place, I see people in Vegas, we process there quite a bit. And we have negotiators that live there too, but it's one of those things that set the price just below the other homes. Some of them are putting, if the house is really actually worth $300, it's worth $350, maybe it should be listed at $300 or $325. But some people are putting in $150 just to get the offers on the home, send something into the bank, see what the bank will take. And, you know, that's not really, you know, a good tactic. Really, I don't think it is. Maybe some people are of that train of thought, or they went to some, you know, like wacky, you know, sales strategy class, or, you know, this person reveals all secrets, throw in an offer at 20%. Or I'm not of that train of thought. I'm of let's figure out what the home is worth. Let's get a really good offer the first time. Now, there are investors on the call and people who work and process for investors, and there's nothing wrong with trying to get a good deal. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, in my processing center, and if you're a real estate agent, I wouldn't really want to waste my time with a lowball offer, quite frankly. I would also not want to falsely set my price too low in order to just elicit some offers, okay? It's about selling the home, so don't price it too high either. If it's worth $300, I would not list it at $300. Absolutely not. Okay. If the other homes in the neighborhood are at 275, I would put mine at 269.9. Okay. I would be just below what the other person was with the same floor plan. Now, if you live in a rural area like where I live right now, you got a geodesic dome house over here, you got a log cabin over here, you got a double wide over here. So you can't, you know, the comps are harder to come by. So you just do the best you can. But if the phone's not ringing, I can assure you that the price is too high, or the perceived price is too high. Okay. If you're unsure where to price it, get input from other agents in your office. You should have a team atmosphere. Hopefully, it's not always there. I know there's a lot of cutthroat people, but hopefully you work in an environment where you have good teammates. Okay. Have an independent BPO done for you by another agent. That's a tactic that a lot of other agents do. I'll do one for you if you do one for me, if you're both doing short sales, okay? Our BPOs in our system take a minute, like 5 minutes to do. People, we have it in the software. You have a BPO software included. And it's nice because you can just assign it over to someone. They can log in and literally finish the BPO. So long as they don't have to drive around to the other houses and take pictures, they have all that. Obviously, they're going to do that anyways. But as far as typing up the BPO, it's nice because it just takes them 5 minutes to upload all the stuff and put it in. All right, now, have an independent BPO done, or at least, very least, you do one. Broker price opinion is what BPO stands for. Now, a lot of people are starting to, and they're wise to do this, but the banks are now ordering a BPO, and they're also ordering automated valuation models, or AVMs, okay? So you're crazy not to. If you ever need one of these, just email us. We can order them. They cost $15. If you're in a rural area, it's good to get them. But if there's not a lot of comps around in the area, so in other words, the reason why I'm saying to pull an AVM is because the bank will do that, and you need to know what the bank is going to see. All right, that's why. So if your offer's way low. But if you're in an area where there's lots of comps and lots of sales, they're going to pull this as well as get a BPO done, and you better do the same. I think it's worth it for $15. Okay. Right now, we're going to take a break for 5 minutes. Okay. I'm going to answer some questions, and I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording right now. And we were covering setting price before the break. Okay. So again, don't set the price too high. If there's foreclosures in the neighborhood that have sold, be at or below that. Okay. Now, every area, I don't claim to be super broker extraordinaire. It's all about common sense. If the same house, the same condition, has just sold for $165 on a foreclosure, the bank will see that. Your buyer should see that, or your seller should see that, and the bank should also be told about that because you're going to send in a BPO. Okay, you better send one in. All right. Okay, let's go on to the next one. In any questions that you guys have going forward after this seminar, we negotiate all day long and we train all day long and we're helping people all day long. But feel free to forward over the questions. I mean, we don't ignore them. I mean, I'm going to check and make sure you were in a seminar, not just off the street. But yeah, bring them on, and we'll do our very best to help you out. Okay, it's what we do. Okay, now we were talking about collecting all this, finding the client, prospecting, collecting all of the items, pulling a prelim, looking at everything. You decide you want it. You've listed that bad boy. And now you're like, all right, I listed the bad boy. I want to see what the bank will take. What do? First thing you do is go on vacation for 6 or 7 weeks. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so especially don't tell your seller if you do that. All right, so you need to know what programs or when to do that, okay? So if it's a HAFA file, and we're going to cover HAFA extensively, so if it's a HAFA file, or you want to see if they qualify for HAFA, you'll send that in right now. If it's an Equator file, you'll send that in right now. If it's an FHA file, you'll send that in right now. Now, I'm going to show you what to send in. You're not just going to send in your listing agreement and then be like, oh, how come it didn't get approved? I'm going to show you what to send in. But these are the file types which you would submit. Now, if it's a Bank of America, you would always put that into Equator right away. I don't care. Any company that uses Equator, Chase, Wells, GMAC, Bank of America, BSI, ASC, all of those banks that use Bank of America, I truly believe you should be at least initiating the file inside of Equator right when you take the listing and get all the stuff from the seller. All right? You should not take that listing until you have all the stuff from the seller. I'm sorry. Some people get the cart before the horse. But you might come find out there's some reason why you don't want to take that listing, and how in the world are you going to know that? All right, B of A co-op. Let me talk about that for a minute. They're doing, I think they're doing a few thousand around the country. We happen to have a lot of those. If they're doing a few thousand, we must be doing a lot of short sales because, unless they're just saying that. It's almost exactly like HAFA. It's just that they're not really farming it out too much as much to third-party vendors, although sometimes they still do. But it's a program where they'll solicit the seller, offer them a cash incentive of $3,000, in some cases more, in some cases less. The lowest I've seen is $2,000. Okay, so and it'll release them from deficiencies. It'll be a very fast process, and they'll tell you what you can list the home at ahead of time. Okay, in fact, they'll send them a letter that says what you can list the home at. That's why it is so important to ask them to look at what they've got from their bank, because they might have this super offer just sitting there that would make your life easy. Rather than going through this whole big long negotiation, they're saying, hey, we'll just take $250 right now. How's that sound? Great. Put it in the MLS, bank approved price, $250, a pre-approved short sale, whatever. Okay. But the people that I tell this to, and the reason why I put it in orange, is supposed to click in your head like caution, caution, caution. Okay, do not send in a messy partial file at this point, okay? Send in everything but the offer docs. So until you have all that stuff, don't send anything in. Never piecemeal. Everybody on the thing right now, I don't care what country you're in, I don't care what state you're in, or I don't care how many short sales you do. I need you to raise your right hand, and if you don't have a right hand, raise your left hand, okay? But do not cross your fingers. And I need you to say, and I hope you're raising your hand up right now because I am, I will never, ever piecemeal files in. I will never, ever piecemeal files in to my lender, or Jason's going to be PO'd at me. Okay. Don't do that. Please don't do that, okay? Do not send in messy partial files. Send in everything but the offer docs. What do I mean by offer docs? Estimated HUD, purchase agreement, or in some states a buy-sell, depending on what you want to call it. Here in Montana, they call it a buy-sell. Estimated HUD, proof of funds, pre-approval, etc. You don't have an offer yet, so you're not sending all that stuff in, okay? So you can submit the file for pre-approval if you want to, if it's under one of these programs, or you call the lender and they say that they use Equator or that they will preset pricing, and more banks are starting to do that, which is all the more reason why you should be doing more and more short sales and concentrating on short sales. Thank you. All right, it's okay if they say you need an offer. So if you call in and you do all this stuff and they end up coming back to you and saying, you know what, you don't qualify for a pre-approved short sale pricing, or short. We're not going to do a pre-approved short sale right now for you. You know what you just did, and you didn't know that you just did? You started the ball rolling, okay? You started the ball rolling. What ball do I mean? I used to say never submit a file until you have an offer. Well, now I don't say that, okay? You have started. They are now, you need, if they say no, I am not going to take you need an offer first. Okay, great. Don't get all mad and say, oh, would you waste 5 minutes? I mean, okay? What you did was, now you need to say, well, I want you to order we're going to have an offer next week or soon, okay? I've got this thing priced right. I need you to order a BPO. Your goal, by submitting an offer without a file without an offer, a short sale without an offer, your goal is to get the BPO started immediately, okay? You've got to do that, because that sometimes is what takes 2 or 3 weeks, okay? Because they've got to call someone in from the moon to come down and do it. All right. Now, if you're sending in a pre-approved price or a submission for the stacking order is the following, all right? Unless the bank tells you different, do this. A cover letter explaining what you want. Hi, my client wants a half a short sale. Hi, my client would like to get I need to get the pre-approved pricing. I need you to order value for an FHA file. Explain what it is you're doing. Explain what, hi, I'd like to be considered for the co-op, Bank of America co-op file, okay? Now, you're sitting here going, well, Jason, you don't fax anything into Equator. Well, you upload all this stuff, guys and guys and gals. All right. So, but we'll show you that. So if you're going to send in, let's just pretend this is a half a file, okay, or an FHA file. You're going to send in the half of forms, RMA and the SSA if you've got it back, whatever, okay, the RMA, the Dodd-Frank, okay. We're going to go over every single half of form in just a little bit. But if the FHA financial application, which is in your box, okay, third-party authorization. So in other words, what I'm saying is it's a bank application, okay? Do you understand that? All right, so you send in the bank apps or applications, okay? Have a question on what to send in? My email is jason@shortsalemail. All right? I only charge $632 an hour. No, I'm just kidding. All right, third-party, if you're in my class and you have a short sale question, send it on. I think I responded, email sent me one yesterday. I think I responded to him before his email even got to me. All right, third-party authorization. Hardship letter, okay, signed 4506T. That has to be a 2011 4506. Don't be using a 2007. I saw one from like 2007 or something the other day. I was laughing. Okay. And the person's probably still using an Apple IIc computer. All right. Just kidding. All right, 2009 and 2010 signed tax returns. When I say signed, I mean they got copies and they just jotted down their signature on it and signed it for today's date or yesterday's date or whatever, last week, whatever it was. Most current 2 months pay stubs, or if they're self-employed, profit and loss year to date, or if they're both, send both. Most current 2 months bank statements, all pages. Most current utility bill, okay? Phone, satellite, etc. It proves their residence, and the listing agreement, if this were to be a HAFA, okay? So that's what you would send in. It's very easy. So this is a good stack. So we're going to go and we're going to go look at what that stack looks like real quick. Okay, so if you're going to send in, and we'll cover this a little bit more, but just so you can see it. So I'm looking at a half a submission with no offer, right? I sent over a half a cover letter, authorization, the RMA form, because that's the half a form that's the half a bank app, the Dodd-Frank certification, the 4506T 2011 version, the hardship letter, profit and loss, 2009 and 2010 taxes, the listing agreement, and I always send in my own BPO. So what is that going to look like? You know, we'll just take a quick look at a package. Again, obviously I didn't go sign all this stuff, and this stuff would need to be signed. But here's what it should say. The letter to the bank, okay, explaining what it is that you want to do. This is just an example that we have, okay? The third-party authorization is here. Our system fills all that in for you, so you don't have to. You can just you send it over to your client. Your client would sign it right here, okay? So I just want you to see this. The RMA, and we're going to go over all these HAFA forms, but I'm just showing you because we're talking about the stack, what the stack would look like in the order, okay? Explanation of hardship. I was a subprime mortgage broker. Need I say more? It fills in all of the RMA for the people, okay? The Dodd-Frank certificate signed by your seller. The 4506T signed by your seller. The hardship letter, okay? I've got 3 hardship letters in there. Sample profit and loss statement, all right? The taxes you would send in. This is just an example. The listing agreement, okay, would go in. The broker price opinion. So that's what a package would look like, a pre-offer. So notice there's no offer there, okay? How do you send it in with no offer? Well, I found out that this is a half a file, so I sent it in. So that's what I did. I sent the file in. It's that simple. I stack all that stuff. I hit fax, and it goes right into the bank. I pick the bank, and I pick Bank United or whatever bank it is, and I hit send, and I just sent the package into the bank. I mean, it is really that simple. Okay, so back to the PowerPoint. All right. In the listing agreement. So that's the stack. We just saw the stack in action, okay? You refer back to these stacks. You have these stacking orders in your in the Dropbox. Always refer back to them, okay? Before you send something in, and if there's a change to the stack or the bank says, you know what, listen, I just want 1 month pay stub, please, just listen to them. Like I said, never send more than they ask for. All right. So that's if you are going to send in a short sale package to get the ball rolling before an offer. Now, the next step is receive and pre-qualify an offer. So if you did not send in the package, or you did and you're waiting for the offer to come in and now it finally comes in, either way, this is the next step, okay? It's a good thing to get an offer. The higher the better. I do not, as a rule, accept lowball offers. Now, again, if some of the people, not many, but I would say probably 10 or 15 people on the seminar today are short sale processing centers of process for investors, okay? So that being the case, they're going to get lowball offers because the investors want to pay as little as possible. I understand that. Maybe they're the investor, and some people on the phone are investors, and they're trying to negotiate their own short sale. That's fine. Lowball offers are generally not accepted. That's the rule. However, have we ever got them done? Of course. Of course we have. Okay? But as a rule, now what I'm talking about is if you're the real estate agent, okay, as someone asked on the software, if you pull up the half a submission package, if we enter the seller's information on the RMA, it also auto-populates other documents. Yeah, real quick, we can cover this at the break too, but all of the information for the RMA, okay, is asked through all of these questions, okay? Half and half pre-qual, mortgage, bankruptcy, HOA. So all of the RMA, whatever you fill in from here to here, okay, gets stamped onto not only the RMA but other bank applications as well. Okay, and we add more and more. We're adding 12 more of those by Friday. But yes, it will fill out the RMA for you, and it'll go onto the authorization and other docs as well. Yes, and we add more and more and more and more docs. We're adding in the RFAA because ASC uses that. We have all the bank docs and addendums in here that you could ever want. But anyway, yeah. So yes, to answer your question, yes, it does. Okay. All right. Cash is best. Lowball offers are not accepted as a rule. Cash is best. Now, I realize not everybody's full of cash, okay? Now, you need to watch out for when you're receiving and pre-qualifying an offer, okay, watch out for the VA, the FHA, the rural economic loans because they have more underwriting guidelines and less chance of final approval, looming foreclosure, okay? So if you receive an offer, you get an incoming offer, okay? Watch out if it's VA or FHA and rural ec because what happens is that a lot of times if there's any repairs that need to be done to the house, etc. I'm not talking if this is an FHA short sale. I'm talking about if the incoming buyer is using a VA, FHA, or rural ec loan. Just be careful because if you know that there's like a railing missing out on the back deck or there's a hole in the back deck, you know the bank's not going to go and fix these things before the short sale. It's going to be sold as is normally. Yes, there are exceptions to that rule, but I concentrate on the rule. So, in other words, they're not going to qualify on that property for an FHA. For instance, I have a house right now down the street that we got a short sale approval on from GMAC in 10 days, start to finish. Now we're waiting. Now the buyer walked, so we're waiting on another buyer, etc. It's pre-approved for them. It's great. It's 10 days, the whole thing, start to finish, 10 days. It was awesome. It was unbelievable. But the fact of the matter is that everybody keeps coming in with an FHA offer. Well, the fact is that the problem is that house, they finished the basement without letting the county know. So it's like basically 2 bedrooms and a bath, like not approved or whatever they call that, okay? So we're not going to be able to get FHA financing on that property, okay? So we have to wait for a buyer to come in with cash, basically, or they're going to need to go down to the county and get that approved. Well, the person doesn't live there anymore, and they're not spending any more money on the house. So banks will rarely spend a lot of money repairing a home, and these type loans require it. So that's why I'm saying watch out for that. Banks will not always pay closing costs, okay? So if your buyers are coming in saying, I demand closing costs to be paid, look, they're not entitled to closing costs, okay? That is a luxury for them. If you have a ticking time bomb, which is the foreclosure sale date, and that buyer demands, or they're not going, and you have other offers, you take the offer where there's no conditions or contingencies because you can't get all the way down to the approval. Then the bank says no, which they so often do to pay foreclosures, to pay closing costs. And you're like, oh, great, my buyer just walked in, I have to foreclose next week, and the bank won't extend the sale date unless I have an offer. Okay? So it's like, holy smokes, you know, what do I do right now? Well, you just have to tell them, look, we're going to try to get you the closing costs, but I can't guarantee that they're going to pay them. All right? And yes, I know if the incoming buyer has an FHA loan and the property will qualify for FHA, et cetera, that the banks are more apt to pay closing costs, which they are. But they're taught in their training, and I actually have a B of A training here. I can't show everybody just because I don't want to get in trouble because I got it by mistake. But it says in their B of A negotiator training a lot of things that we already knew, some things that we didn't about how they come up with their values, etc. But the fact of the matter is that they say that unless they get a full price offer or full fair market value offer, not to pay any FHA closing costs or any closing costs whatsoever. All right, so contingencies are bad, but if you lack anything else, you need to take an offer, because oftentimes to postpone a sale date, you need to have an offer. Okay, well, if you lack anything else and you need to get something into the bank to get the ball rolling because it's not already rolling, because I don't do pre-approved pricing, then you might consider taking something with contingencies, but use your best judgment there, okay? All right, from the buyer's agent, you need to get a pre-approval letter, okay? Now, I'm going to tell you something. A pre-approval letter, okay, is good, but sometimes their cousin, who is the so-called mortgage expert, doesn't even pull their credit. Their cousin just said, hey man, I got good credit. You know, I bought a house 4 years ago when anybody could. You know, all you had to do is fog a mirror. So it's like, you know, yeah, so that pre-approval letter, yeah, the banks need it, but guess what? It doesn't really mean anything, so you should still be trying to protect your seller. What I recommend you get, I've got the wrong one uploaded here, but what I recommend you ask for, and you can look in when I send you your final book after the class, okay? Liz is making that, and you'll get that after the class, only after the class. It's not for people that weren't here. It's the DU findings, okay? You want desktop underwriting findings, all right? Desktop underwriting is what DU stands for. It's Fannie Mae. Freddie Mac has their own form too. It's what mortgage brokers put into the computer to get an approval for someone that fills out a 1003 or a bank application with them. That will let you know if they're actually approved via the computer. They only have to follow some conditions, etc. Okay? So the DU, I have a question coming in here. Mark said, I don't allow blind submitted offers. The reason is that you lose a lot of time on distress home with cash buyers if they haven't even seen the house yet. Yeah, we could wait for the bank approval, then the buyer goes through the inspection period and then bails on you. Now you've wasted a lot of time. It's better to demand an investor does an inspection before submitting an offer. I agree. And Mark, that's a great point. Blind submitted offers means they're just, you know, they might be, we get a lot of Canadian buyers down in the desert. Yeah, that looks great on the MLS and everything like that. And that, you know, in fact, that happened to us. I'm once removed from a lot of this, Mark, because I'm a processing center. And so, but this gal that we're processing for right now submitted an offer, says that, you know, they love the house, they've been down to the house, they've been in the house, and then, you know, that they've gone through it all, that they did the inspection, and then she comes to tell me that yesterday it fell out of escrow, you know, 2 weeks before the sale date because they just didn't want to spend that much time on approval. And then my negotiator asked her, I said, did they really see the house? And then she, of course, conveniently said, no, they didn't. And so, you know, it's just like, why are they trying to pull the wool over my eyes? Yeah, you should never accept a blind offer, especially when there's a sale date. You need to protect your sellers. You need to protect your sellers in every way. You need to get a good pre-approval letter, but more so you need to get DU findings, okay? You also need DU findings. You got to ask the lender for that. If the lender won't give you that, have him write a letter that says he's run DU findings and they're approve eligible, okay? That's what you need. And that's not just short sales. That's everything, but that's especially on short sales. Do not just take a pre-approval letter. It doesn't mean a dang thing. It's just wasted ink. But however, the bank needs that. The bank does not need to see the DU findings. You need. Do you need to see the findings? Yes. Okay, got it? All right. I get a little bit, you know, I get a little bit wound up there. I was a mortgage broker for 12 years, okay? Earnest money deposit copy of a check, okay? Proof of funds is cash. As Mark said, you may want to also demand that they get the inspection prior to, if they're serious about it, make sure that they've seen it and make sure that they've gotten that before time. You do not have time for something to fall out and then be hemming and hawing and having to go get a new buyer if there's a foreclosure sale date, and that's all there is to it, okay? What you got to get from the listing agent, a listing agreement. This would be you if you're the listing agent. Estimated HUD, prelim Prelim tells you about all liens on title. I get a lot of agents that say the title company won't pull that for me. You either get a new title or tell me you need a listing prelim. Okay, it's a prelim. It's not the final thing where they go out there and look at the price. It's basically a property report, whatever you want to call it in your state. It seems like every county calls it something different. Whatever it is you need to do a title search, and you need to see what things are on title, okay, because that's going to determine whether or not you want to take that property. Estimated HUD. Estimated HUD shows the lender what they're going to get or net on the file. Short sale addendum. Every state has those. BPO you should do or have someone in your office do, or at least a CMA written with a written page on why the offer is valid, okay? You need a buy-sell or a purchase agreement. Sorry. I do these trainings all over the place. I'm always switching them back and forth. So if I say buy-sell, I mean purchase agreements. If I say purchase agreements, I mean buy-sell. Wherever you are, whatever you do, I'll just call it IT. Get the IT agreement, okay? Or I should call it the commission agreement. Okay, list of whom you want to follow up with. Listen, there's so many problems to a short sale file if you don't do stuff right. But what you should do as a listing agent is you should get everybody's information. Buyer, you already have the seller's info, hopefully. That'd be a good idea to have that. A title, selling agent, buyer's agent, whatever you want to call them. You got to get all of the people's information on the file. You've got to write all that stuff down, okay? And you need to follow up with these people every time you make that call. Every how many hours? 72 hours? Yeah. You need to make the call, okay? And you need to either email them or put them in an email grouping, like let's just call it the John Smith file group, John Smith group. Click that button, email them the update. Called the bank today. They told me that the valuation will be back in tomorrow. All right. Okay. You also need to execute a hold harmless addendum. There's a lot of different ones floating around. I have had my attorney write them. It's very simplified. I will be happy to put you. In fact, you should already have that in the Dropbox. If not, I'm happy to put it in there. But you have to understand that every state is different, and every broker has different rules and regulations. Okay. I am not above your broker. You do what your broker says, and that's what I'm telling you to do. But if you want to run that by your broker, this is very easy. I've seen the ones from CDPE. I've seen the ones from all of these other training classes. In fact, I train people, I retrain people all the time from CDPE, and they have a really long one. It's really long-winded, and so the sellers get a little bit overwhelmed. So we've really dumbed down our hold harmless addendum. However, people may have tax liability, and people may have deficiency judgments. And if you can't necessarily act as their attorney or their CPA. But if it never came up in conversation, and you never protected yourself from them saying, well, they never told me about that. It's their fault. They pressured me into a short sale. And you got to make sure that you. And we'll talk about that later. But you got to make sure that you protect yourself. Okay. So listing agreement, prelim, estimated HUD, excuse me, short sale addendum, BPO, or at least the CMA with a written page on why the offer is valid, buy-sell agreement, list of whom you want to follow up with, a hold harmless addendum, and items from the seller. Okay. All right. Multiple accepted offers. All right. I go state to state. I go internet to internet. All right. Seminar to seminar. That's all I do. Okay. I hear everything. I see everything. Again, my wife will tell you that I don't know everything. But the fact is here, though, everybody, is that a bank, and I'm just going to say this, okay, and I'm not trying to offend any brokers that think differently, or you if you think differently. But every negotiator, I've talked to thousands of them over. In fact, we do so many short sales that we get the same negotiators over and over and over again, which you'd never thought would happen at a place like Bank of America. But the fact is that a bank cannot, although you may continually get offers through your fax machine, a bank can only look at one at a time, okay? So I'm going to just explain that. I don't want to spend too much time here, but I'm just going to tell you from a bank's perspective and what it says, okay? Bank of America has said this. I have it recorded. I have it on their negotiated training, and I have it on their backup offer training sheets. Banks can and will only negotiate one offer at a time, and they decide what they will take on their net proceeds. So if you get 5 offers, you do not send in 5 offers and let them pick. They will never do that. I'm talking about the rule. Maybe there's a little credit union that would, but I'm talking about the rule. You cannot do that. Okay. You can take some backup offers, let them know that you're working this one deal and that you'll let them know if it for some reason falls through, or if the bank counters higher, you counter back to the first buyer. It's pretty much, there are some states that with their short sale addendums say that buyers have the right, without being sued, to accept offers up until the time that they get an accepted offer from the lender. However, it's foolish to not put contingent in the MLS, I think. I think that it's crazy to tell 5 people that you're selling them a house at one time. I just personally have a problem with that. I don't think you should mislead people like that. And you have to show the seller all the offers, of course, and choose the one offer that is best, and it may not be the highest. It's not up. You never know. The best offer is the one that closes at the highest price. And you don't really know what one that's going to be, because no offer, as you know, is in concrete. Okay. Now, I always mark mine. Again, I'm not a power broker. I don't do a lot of listings. I negotiate. The reason why I'm an agent in California is because I have to be an agent to have run a processing center in the state of California the way that I do it. And the contingent in MLS once you get an offer. So I tell my agents to market contingent in MLS once they get an offer, and I also have them take the lockbox off the door. Okay, for a few reasons. Mainly, I don't want the bank going in and out of that house changing locks. Okay, I don't want if it's vacant. I do not want other agents walking in that house. I do not even want to get other offers. I have no problem getting any offers because I price my homes accordingly. I have never, ever waited longer than a week to get some kind of an offer. I may not have taken it, but I've never, ever, because I price them right. Okay, market contingent in MLS once you get an offer. All other offers are backup offers. Okay, so yeah, I mean, if they're coming through the fax for some reason, people are just submitting in these offers. You know, I'll say, hey, we've got a backup offer, and I let them know what position they're in. Okay, I tell all the other agents, and I put it in agent remarks. Look, I'm negotiating on a sale here. We're going with that one until such time as we hear different from the bank. And I think that's the right thing to do. Again, every state's different. Every broker's different. I am not trying to say that your broker's wrong or you're wrong. I'm just saying that's my opinion for what it's worth, okay? I'll respect yours. You can respect mine. Okay, remember, the difference between an offer on a non-distressed property or a normal sale is that in most cases there is a foreclosure sale date looming or imminent, and you absolutely don't have time to mess around with subpar offers. You don't have time to mess around with blind offers, okay? Get the price down to where it will sell. Sell it to a qualified buyer in a hurry. Short sales take some time. Give yourself ample time. Make sure your buyer will stick through the process. Are you willing to sit here for 90 to 120 days, Mr. Buyer? Yes. All right, give me $2 million non-refundable deposit. No, I'm just kidding. All right. All right. Don't tell your broker I just said that either. That's a joke, okay? I'm recording this. It's a joke. I don't want you to just take that sentence and take out the part where I said it was a joke. All right. Your next step after you get an offer that you've accepted, okay, is you have to prepare the estimated HUD, all right? We initially will have the agents, if it's my listing and I'm processing it, what I will do is I have my title person. I send her the stuff that she needs or he needs, and they send it over. They send it back to me, and I put it into my software. I have HUD software in the software. I put it in there. Then if there's a little fee that the bank strikes, I don't have to keep going back to my escrow officer, although they have access to the software to make these changes for me. But I will always get an estimated HUD from them, then I will copy that into mine, okay? The estimated HUD is one of the most important documents. It can only be done after you get an offer, okay? Because else, what are you going to put in there? I guess you could put all the fees in there, but you really wouldn't know what the bank is netting because you wouldn't know where the baseline is. Your closing agent, title officer, attorney must ensure that they find out about past due liens, HOA dues, and their other taxes. You've got to pull that prelim. That stuff all needs to be on there. I don't care. You know, when you're doing a HUD, you really need to put all those HOA dues in there ahead of time. It is so difficult, I have to say, that if you don't put the past due HOAs in there, although the bank may end up not paying them, it is so difficult to add fees down the road after the bank says, I'll take X amount of dollars. Yes, I'll do that. And then you go, oh, darn. Oh, but by the way, there's 5,000 HOAs. There's a $2,500 mechanics lien. And, oh, yeah, you know, they didn't pay the landscaper. Okay. Well, come on. I mean, that's where, before you even list it, you should have that prelim or that property report that has a list of these liens that are, you know, very obvious that they're there. done. Okay, I cannot stress that enough. All right. When you know about those ahead of time, they need to make sure that they're included on the HUD that you're going to send into the bank. Also, it's a good idea when you're doing short sales that you should load the HUD up with fees such as home inspection, if you're mold mitigation in some states, radon tests, home warranty, home inspection, termite, whatever you have in your area. But it's a good idea to ask for the moon. But again, when you're doing that HUD or they're doing that HUD, the word is, will you please pad the HUD for me? Okay, that's the word. You want to get a padded HUD. Okay, and we'll look at how to do that in just a little bit. Okay, make sure you have an experienced title rep making these for you, and you should never wait longer than 48 hours. Okay. Now, and again, we're going to look at a HUD and how to do that. We're going to teach you how to work first and seconds on the HUD and all that stuff. It'll be in the afternoon. You're going to have to get some more coffee and get some food in you. Okay. All right. So now, the last step was to prepare the estimated HUD. You already have all the stuff from the seller. Everything's getting there. You've got your offer now. Wonderful. Okay. Now you need to finalize your package submission and quality control your file. And we do this in our processing center. Okay. You need to update the pay stubs and the bank statements. Okay. Got to do it. Got to make sure you have everything filled out properly. If you don't have something signed, everything's not fully executed, they're going to catch it. All right. Loan number and page number on the top of each page. That of all the things that Short Sale Sync does, I love, that would be the thing I love the very most, because I used to sit there, oh my gosh, for 2 hours, right? Especially if I have corporate taxes, holy smokes, writing a number on it. I write the last name of the client, last four of their social, and then I put the loan number in the top right, bottom right I put page 1 of 20 or 1 of 30, 1 of 40, something like that, okay? That could take you, I mean, it might be, 2031 by the time you're doing that on a large package, okay? Loan number and page number on the top of each page, go through each package twice and pretend you're a negotiator and find what's wrong. I don't care. You merge that file, you look at that file, you do that. Make sure everything's legible and signed, like I said. Make sure all the bank-specific apps and addendums are in the file. All right? I'm here to tell you that if you get the Freddie Mac addendum signed and the Bank of America addendum signed, arm's length affidavit signed, and the no flipping affidavit signed, et cetera, all signed for all these banks, and those are uploaded into Equator, or those are sent into the bank, I can tell you you'll take weeks, if not months, off your process. All right? 90% of the short sale battle is won or lost in the file you submit. I don't care. It's not that these things are like secret tricks, bank, this is not what it is do a good job getting your package together and watch your short sale business boom, okay? It's all in the package it submits. That's why our turn times in our process center are so slow. I know I have a great staff and great negotiators, but we have a very organized way in which to send it in, okay? And I truly believe, and I don't believe it, I know that is why, because I use the technology. I know that is why we're so successful. And because of Mars regulations, I can't say how successful. But unless the bank is just completely crazy or the house goes to foreclosure, the deal closes. All right. All right. If more than one lien, you need to submit both files at one time. Okay. So I want to go over that. All right. So you're QCing the file now. You're finalizing your file, getting it all ready to go. Okay. That could be a first file or a second file. All right. Now you need to write the cover letter. When writing a cover letter, you need to explain what you're doing, why you're doing it, overcome any potential red flags, such as that bonus I missed before, that you can be sure will be seen. Address all of the red flags now. Everything that's weird with this file you need to talk about in the cover letter. Because you've already looked at the file twice, right? For instance, if you see a large deposit on a bank statement, or there's a lot of money in an account, that you need to explain for that. For instance, maybe if there's 50 grand in his business account, he's not raking it in. It's just October 14th. He's sending it in tomorrow with his IRS taxes that he did. He had an extension, okay? Explain that stuff. You just got to think ahead of these people. Look, it takes 5 minutes to write a cover letter. Take an underwriter, they're going to see that, or a negotiator's going to see this stuff, and they might stip for all these more addendums, et cetera. Yeah, I come from a mortgage background, so I really believe in, doing these, really going the extra mile to just make sure all these things are done right. Or if nothing else, write it inside the Equator messages, okay? In your cover letter, you got to ask for deficiency release. Okay, you have to ask for sale date postponement. You have to tell them what kind of short sale you want. We're going to look at a good example of a cover letter. Okay. Now, if you're gonna have this cover letter, I don't want you to send it in like this. I don't want you to send it in there where it says Bob Agent. Okay. Yeah, that would definitely not be a good thing. And anyway, so let's see here. Liz, if there's any more questions, go ahead and send them over to me. Yeah, I see that there's some blinking there. And delete the ones that you've answered to, Liz, if you'd be so kind. Okay. That way you don't, because it's what happens in the GoToMeeting is if someone says like, yeah, I hear you, like there's a few hundred people here, it's like, yeah, you can't possibly weed through 1,000 submissions. So, all right, cover letter, short sale negotiator. You probably all read this while I was talking, so but anyway, bear with me. Please be advised that our client is seeking a short sale at this time. I'm not just faxing you because I have nothing better to do. Our client has been trying to hang on and has spent through her life savings trying to stay current on their mortgage. Now, their life savings may have been $32, okay? They no longer have enough to continue to pay their mortgage, so we're asking for your assistance. This is just an example. Our client does or does not want to be considered for HAPA at this time. This is where you would put in there that they do or they don't want to be considered for HAPA. Please add them to this program immediately, or please remove them from this program immediately. Because sometimes you'll enter something into Equator, just uploading your authorization, and all of a sudden it'll dump them into the HAPA bucket, and you're like, I don't want HAPA. I know this is an investment property. It's not going to work. We need to get them out, upload this in the library. Our client was trying to get a modification up until recently, so please remove our client from the loan mod pipeline and enter them immediately into the short sale queue. That is so important. If you're at Chase, they're doing a Chase loan mod or a Bank of America sometimes, it'll literally seemingly take 2 to 3 months to take them out of that. Because you'll send in your short sale, and the loan mod department might not be talking to the short sale department, and vice versa. So you can't, and so the system, and usually the customer service reps can't pick it up, but the system, it's like two separate systems for whatever reason. And the fact of the matter is it's like one doesn't pick up that something else is trying to go on, however it's making one not be able to move forward and the other not be able to move forward. So you would have them remove this from the program in the cover letter, okay? And any messaging or subsequent emails back and forth to the negotiator, just make sure if you get one assigned. Usually you have to send this into customer service, okay? Furthermore, if there's a sale date, you need to postpone the sale date that is scheduled for blah, blah, blah date. Lastly, we ask you to include deficiency release verbiage in your short sale approval, as our client is trying to do the right thing by allowing the home to sell via short sale. In doing so, she reduces your risk and increases your net proceeds. Without the deficiency being released, our client will be open to further lawsuits, and if this possibility is not removed, they will be forced to foreclose. Okay, at which time they will not be pursued for a deficiency in the state. Well, make sure that's how your state is, okay, before you send in a letter like this. But this is all the stuff that we like to write in there. We might even write a little bit more about the hardship, etc. Yeah, okay, we just had a question from Sharon. Sharon, great question. I've heard about Chase giving $30,000 to the homeowner after the short sale close. Does it happen a lot, and in what circumstances? No, it does not happen a lot. However, in some of the hardest hit areas, in certain investors realize that, especially seemingly the later that they go, they realize that there's a lot of foreclosures in certain areas in certain neighborhoods. So some people, the highest I've ever heard is $35,000 cash contribution to the seller at the closing in order to entice them to do a short sale. Probably because that investor has 12 other homes right next door to this home in foreclosure on their books, and they sure don't want another one because they see what the price is at. So yes, they do offer that cash contribution to them up to what I've seen, $35,000. Wachovia currently has a mailer out to some clients right now with up to $25,000 being offered. Many of you were on our call that we had with Amelia Castro. She's a Wells Fargo short sale manager. She handles their portfolio loans outside of Equator and also the old Wachovia loans, Old World Savings loans. And Amelia was very nice to be on our call. I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago is when it was. I'm getting old, so I forget. But yeah, she said that they've got some letters out right now, and they'll still honor that $25,000. So yep, don't be afraid to ask for some cash contribution. It does not happen very often that you get that much. Okay, it probably happens on 10 to 20% of the files that you get anything. So don't expect it, but definitely if you want to ask for it here. Okay, you can even ask for $30,000 And you would call that cash to borrow or close or relocation assistance or whatever. Cash bonus. Freddie Mac, sometimes I see Freddie Mac offering $1,500 to $3,000 all the time on non-HAFA files. So you can ask for it. You won't always get it, but what the heck? Throw in another sentence right there. I'd do it. You bet. You could just put it in there like this. Furthermore, our client will need $30,000 relocation assistance in order to be persuaded to short sale their home. You can give me half of that. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so and we'll save that. So yeah, I mean, you bet, absolutely, whatever you want to do. Elizabeth just closed one in North Seattle where the investor proposed $20,000. Elizabeth, I will gladly take half of that. I'll send you my checking account number, okay? Flo said, I had a short sale. My client missed out on the $3,000 relocation assistance because I did not get pre-approval. Can you explain? Flo, your client, I don't know what bank or I don't know what example, but when I've seen what you, so Flo said she had a short sale and her client missed out on the $3,000 relocation assistance because I did not get pre-approval. Here's the thing. Freddie Mac, the $3,000 relocation assistance is typically HAFA if it's $3,000. Other programs are other things. So if she missed out on the on the $3,000 relocation assistance, which is what HAFA calls it, it was probably because they qualified for HAFA. However, if the investor is Freddie Mac, okay, they will not allow you to do HAFA if you send in an offer. You have to get a pre-approved sale price through Freddie Mac under HAFA, and we're going to cover that later when we get to HAFA. But the fact of the matter is that I'm quite sure, it sounds like, I'm not sure, but it sounds like it was Freddie Mac was the investor, and it was a HAFA file. You had an offer, you sent in an offer, and they said it had to go normal short sale. That sounds to me as what it was. We can look more at that if you want, or I'll help you later on look at that. But yeah, and we're going to go over that. But if you've got Freddie Mac as the investor, we're going to go through a whole thing on that, so I'll cover that in a little bit, probably till I'm blue in the face. All right, I got to tell you that all banks have an authorization fax. So if you haven't already started a pre-approval file, sent in a half file before, with the exception of your offer docs, and you're getting ready to submit a file, just before doing that or just while you're doing that, you better send in the authorization to the authorization fax, okay? And you better send the short sale package into the short sale fax. Do not, raise your right hand, I will not send the short sale package into the authorization fax. You got that? Okay, good. I want to make sure everybody has that, okay? It's important. Inside of your Dropbox link that you're getting right now, I have every single lender phone number. I have every single, this is also in the software, but I have every single bank, you know, all the larger banks, not every single. I have every single, just about, but for all intents and purposes, these are the ones that you're dealing with. But I have all of their customer service phone numbers, authorization fax, short sale fax, and short sale departments right here. Okay? That right there is worth more than $47, everybody. All right, are you clapping? Okay, there you have it, okay? This is all, I mean, this is huge. You don't have to track all this stuff down, okay? And as they, like, we need to put Chase, they still have an auth fax. They're still a hybrid with Chase right now, but you could put, as time goes on, you're going to be putting Equator in there and Equator in there, okay? But it's still good to have that information, okay? All right, so you've got all that. So when you come down to it, send the authorization in. That's the third-party authorization that allows you to speak to your client. You put that there, okay? And send your short sale package in here unless you're uploading it into Equator. And here's the phone number that you're supposed to call every 3 days, okay? So there you go. Now, on these ones where it says based on loan number, now, you need to just call the customer service, tell them the loan number, and they'll transfer you to the right department, okay? All right. You're welcome for that. Took me, 4 years to get that, okay? And then they change it on me every 5 minutes. Okay, submit to the lender. Now it's time to submit. You got everything in, you got your authorization in, everything's together, you've QC'd it. All right, you got it all done. You need to submit the auth to the auth fax, submit the short sale to the short sale fax. It's best to have an e-fax, not a manual fax, okay? Follow up each day until the acknowledged. But if you need a deal on an e-fax, we have a really good one. that because my software, we have just so many people using RingCentral, they give my clients a discount. Okay. Follow up each day until they acknowledge both auth and short sale file received. So if you need, if you're paying over $100 for your eFax, or even over $50 a month for your eFax, you need to let us know. Right. Best to have an eFax, not a manual one. I use RingCentral, but I have a link where you can get a discount. Best to have an eFax, not a manual one. Okay. Follow up. Look, you go through reams of paper. It doesn't come into your email. You never know if it went through. You can track everything through your email, okay, through your online account. All right. Follow up each day until they acknowledge that they got both your authorization and your short sale file. Now, what if you're uploaded into Equator? Should you still call to check status? You darn right you should. My negotiators call more in Equator than they do on a normal file, it seems like. Call every 3 days until evaluation is in. If my negotiators go more than 3 days without updating my clients, I get mad. Okay? Naturally, if using Equator steps change, follow the tasks inside of Equator, but you should still call. Okay? So we have eFax special pricing. I don't need to go in that right now. If you need an eFax, just email us and we'll give it to you later. I'm not selling eFaxes here. All right, regular short sale stack, fax in or upload to Equator. Okay? So the regular short sale stack, all right, is this. And we're going to look at this. Cover letter explaining the file. So this is if it's a regular short sale. Okay? It's not a HAFA, it's not a pre-approved, it's just a regular short sale. If you do not, if they're using Equator and you not to fax it in, then you just upload this stuff, and I'm going to show you that. Cover letter explaining the file. Bank app or the financial worksheet for each lender. Okay? Any special bank docs, signature affidavit, short sale addendum, arm's length, etc., arm's length addendum, etc., any Fannie or Freddie docs, okay? Third-party authorization, fully executed, obviously. Hardship letters, listing agreement, short sale addendum. If there's an SSA, you want to put that in there, okay? BPO that your summit in your office did. Picture of the MLS, okay? Picture of the house, especially for Bank of America, okay? Purchase agreement or buy-sell. If there's an agreement, some states have a purchase agreement short sale addendum, okay? Some of them do, a lot of them don't, okay? HUD-1, on your HUD-1 that you send in, you want to put your close of escrow out 75 days with all expenses prorated and 10% to the second if applicable. We're gonna really show you how to handle these seconds, okay? After this slide, we're going to take a break. Buyer pre-approval, we're going to take a 5-minute break in about 1 minute, and we're going to come back for 55 minutes, then we're going to take an hour lunch. I don't want anyone leaving early for lunch, okay? All right. Buyer pre-approval or proof of funds, 4506T, pay stub last 60 days, tax return 2 years, bank statements all pages last 2 months, any other income records, Social Security, pension, etc. All right? And then anything miscellaneous that the bank has asked for, you can put in there too. Additional but separate what you need to get, okay? Especially for Equator, you need the buyer info. You need the buyer's name, address, phone number, first 5 of their Social Security number, and their date of birth, and what size pants they wear. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so buyer's agent info, name, broker name, address, phone number, email, fax. Okay, why? So you can follow up. Hello. If they don't want HAFA, I put in a HAFA waiver letter, but I put that on my cover letter. One of my processors put that in there, which is great. Okay. Last mortgage statement for each lender, it helps to have too. All right, so I'm going to leave this up on the screen. You have all these stacks inside the Dropbox. You're going to have all this stuff, and tomorrow I'm going to go over what's in your Dropbox, and so when you're looking for something, where it is, okay? We're going to have a follow-up class for 2 hours tomorrow for those of us that joined late. I'll be sending out those links. It's free. There's no charge. We're just going to answer questions from today. I'm going to stick around tonight until all the answers are done, until my wife comes down and makes me, it calls me and tells me if I don't come upstairs, she's going to divorce me and eat dinner. But the fact is that I'm going to make sure that you get this. I'm going to answer all your questions, and I'm going to do that tomorrow, too, as a follow-up to this class, because it's a lot of information to digest, and I want to make sure you get it, okay? All right, go take a 5-minute break. Come back at 12:07 or 11:07 or wherever you're at, 07, and we'll see you in a few minutes. Put myself on mute here, and we'll be back shortly. And we're back, and we were covering the short sale stack, and now what we are going to do is move on to, let's see what's next. Follow up every 3 days. Okay, follow up every 3 days. Have I said that yet? Okay, you need to do that, no exceptions. Ask if they got everything. Ask if they got the authorization. This is the next step. So once you fax in your short sale, you stacked it and you sent it, okay? Now you need to follow up to make sure they got your authorization, and you don't need to call a Bank of America to see if they got your authorization because it'll tell you that they got the authorization. However, sometimes the authorization gets rejected, and you need to find out why. So you still need to call, okay? So if you uploaded it, chances are they got it because it'll be in your library and you can go there and look. That's the beautiful thing about it. But anyway, follow up every 3 days, no exceptions. Ask if they got it. Ask if they have ordered valuations. Ask if a negotiator's been assigned. Ask what they're missing, if anything. Ask why it's taking so long. Ask, and ask more. When you call them, you need to, every 3 days or less, okay, you need to ask if they got your authorization or confirm that they got your authorization and that it's okay. All right? Ask if they got your short sale package and that it's okay. Ask when they're going to be ordering valuations. Ask them if they can go ahead and order them now. Ask them if you can be assigned to a manager. Get the BPO or the appraisal order, depending on whether it's depending on the investor. Ask if a negotiator's been assigned after that, or sometimes before that. In Equator, a negotiator will be assigned, and then value will be ordered. But one way or the other, your job is to push for a valuation to be ordered, push for it to get back, push for a negotiator, and ask what they're missing all along, so that you can make sure that you have everything in there, and you can bet that if those things aren't dated within 30 days, they'll ask you for something updated. Okay? Ask them why it's taking so long. Is there any particular reason why the evaluation person has not called me yet? Is it because, have you tried calling me? Perhaps, do you have my wrong phone number? Perhaps, are you lying to me? I mean, I just need to know. This needs to get, we need to escalate this. So ask, and get what you need. And be persistent. Never expect that they got your file. Never expect that that they got everything. Never expect that they got your faxes. Never expect that you should just call back in 2 weeks. What if they didn't get it? If you would have sent it in on Thursday, and you don't call for 2 weeks just waiting for them to get it, then you didn't know till 2 Thursdays from now that they didn't get it. You should have known that Monday, okay, no matter what. You just should have known, okay? All right. So they get the package, they've got the valuation, they've got the negotiator assigned, and now we're in the negotiating counter and close. Okay, you got to get the offer or the counter offer. That's the next thing. Once they get the value, they're going to start figuring out what they'll be able to take based on your offer or based on their net present value calculations, period. All right? You need to tally up the numbers. You need to look at what they're telling you, either verbally or what comes back on the offer or what comes back on the counter. And you need to go right away over to your estimated HUD, and you need to see how far away it is. Because sometimes they'll say, look, I need the net 204. Well, that doesn't tell me anything. Well, sure it does. That doesn't tell me what I need to be as far as price. All I care about is what the sales price is. That's all I care about as the agent. Well, you can work that backwards, okay, because you can go in your HUD, and you can figure out what 204, what the sales price would need to be. You can monkey around with it real quick and figure out what the sales price needs to be. That's why you have to have HUD software. You've got to have it if you're negotiating enough. If you're doing 1 or 2 deals, you don't need it. But if you're doing some deals, or you want to do some deals, you've got to have all that stuff right there so you can react instantly. And you can send them over the counter instantly, etc. Tally all the numbers. Adjust your HUDs and send them a new HUD. Get written approval from them or counter back until you get what you want. Now listen, you can get the offer or the counter offer. If you get a counter offer, don't be like, oh man. Look, let me ask you something. If you're walking down in Montana, every 200 yards, there's a trailhead or a fishing access or something you can walk in, okay? So let's just say you drove up a mile, turned off the road to a trailhead, and you're going to walk up the trail. You're walking down the trail, and you see a stick, and it goes, it's 6 inches off the ground only, but it goes all the way across the trail. What are you going to do? Are you going to turn around and go back to your car? Of course not. You're going to step over that thing, or you're going to go around that thing, or you're going to figure out what to do now. So you got to look at that counter offer, and you got to figure out what to do now. And what you got to do is you've got to see what they're going to pay and what they're not going to pay, and you need to look at that on a HUD or something that you understand. Because sometimes looking at that approval, they may say, I need to net this. They may not tell you what the price needs to be. They'll pay this fee, this fee, or this fee, and that's not what you want. So the first thing that you need to do is counter back to them, okay? And you need to say, listen, I sent it in that way because that's how I need it. So you always try to send it back right in the way that you submitted it, unless it's completely ridiculous, okay? And you don't want to go back and forth for 6 weeks now. Remember, there's a foreclosure coming, okay? There's always some give and take in these short sale files, all right? You pound away at them until you know that you're either ticking them off or they're just not going to do it and you're all in. And only you can sense that in their voice. I can't do that for you. My negotiators could, but I can't. Not unless I'm on the phone, okay? You've got to do that. And then you got to tally all the numbers, either have your escrow, give them what they've sent back and tally it, but I just takes me 2 seconds. I do it in my system. I figure out where the numbers need to be. I adjust the HUDs, and then what I do is if I need to up the price or if they're not going to pay for a fee, I go and tell the buyer's agent, and or if I'm processing for a selling agent, I tell the selling agent, they tell the buyer's agent, and from there, I'll know what I'll need to do. Do I need to go, is the buyer walking? Is the buyer okay if they don't pay that termite inspection or what? But what I get from the buyer's agent at that point, I may go back once or twice before I talk with the buyer's agent. That's what I recommend you do at least once, okay? And you counter back until you get exactly what you want, okay? And that's a really good thing. Okay, Jeff says he's not getting any audio. Yeah. So, somebody wrote, it says, do not wait to escalate. That's correct. If you're not getting what you want, or they're not, you've got to escalate. But don't cry wolf though, because at Bank of America, if you escalate and re-escalate and re-escalate, sometimes it'll stop you up. Okay, there are times where that's disaffected. Someone, Larry asked, if we use your company to process, do your processors contact the bank every 3 days and send us an email update? Larry, they're supposed to contact the bank. I train them to contact the bank. They're supposed to contact the bank every 3 days, okay? That's what they're supposed to do, okay? If they're not doing that, then I need to know that, all right? I don't babysit every file. We have a lot of them. And, but, yeah, they're supposed to do that. That's what they're trained to do. And I don't know of any that aren't doing that. Occasionally I'll go look in there. Now, sometimes there's a long weekend. The banks are closed, et cetera. That would be the exception to the rule, okay? But, yes. That's what they're supposed to do. Jeff, you're not getting any audio, my man. Liz, can you tell me? Can you hear me? I'm sure I would have been getting. Okay, Jeff got it. Okay, I'm sorry. Temporary switch. Okay. Some people say it's some people say it's best when they can't hear me. It makes the class go by a little faster. All right, counter back until you get what you want. If you do not get it as submitted, compromise. Okay. Now, I'm not saying. What I told you is, if there's a stick in the road or a speed bump or something, you don't, when you see a speed bump, what do you do, turn around, go back out the gate of the subdivision? No, you go over the darn thing. And sometimes you want to, back up and go over kind of fast, it just depends. But it depends on what kind of mood you're in. But what you have to do is feel out this person, okay? And then, go back 1 or 2 times and say, look, this is what we're going to talk about value disputes and everything in a bit, but at least you've got to compromise. So sometimes you're all in. That's all they're going to do. You've got to go back to the buyer at that point. Go back to the buyer at that point. If the buyer walks, okay, hopefully you've listened to what I said prior, where if they're not demanding all of these things. Like if you don't pay that $114 termite inspection, I'm out of here. Well, no. I mean, you can't do it. That you can't deal with a buyer that's that way. You have to be like, look, that doesn't have to be paid. So I'm just telling you, I'm going to try to get it for you, but if you don't get it, are you walking? And if they say yes, you might consider not taking that offer, okay? All right. If the buyer walks, at least you know what the bank will do, right? You're there. You're like 95% of the way there. I'm telling you, there's a lot of agents that will submit offers to you if you put, approved short sale. Now, don't be putting approved short sale in MLS if the bank will not allow you to slide in a new buyer. Bank of America now will, and that's wonderful. It's the best thing they've ever done. It's just incredible. And that's why we're opening up, our processing center to more and more files. We don't, we have a lot of files, but we don't have a lot of brokers that we process for because we haven't wanted to be bigger than that, but now we've ramped up and we're able to do that. Again, we're not soliciting the business. The fact of the matter is that with 50% of all short sales or more being Bank of America, and the fact that buyers walk, not all the time, but quite frequently, you used to have to start all the way over with Bank of America, and now you don't in many cases. In some cases you do if you don't handle it right. But the greatest thing they ever did was allow a new buyer to be put in there. Same negotiator, they're familiar with the file. All it takes is, okay, so it's really nice. They can reopen that back up. All right, hopefully you close in the first time due. Okay, what do I do when I get an approval? All right, so you counter back and forth, negotiate, 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 negotiate. What do I do now? I got the approval. What do I do? Go on vacation now? No. It's not closed yet. You don't go on vacation quite yet. First thing you do is a backflip. Because when you finally get an approval, I mean, it feels good. It feels damn good, I can tell you that. You need to read it over, all right? It's important to read it over. And we're going to look at an example in a minute. But first, you need to make sure that the deficiency release verbiage is in the approval. It's automatic for HAFA. So if you're closing a HAFA file, your deficiency on the first mortgage is already released. You have to get verbiage for any second mortgages, but we'll talk about that in a bit. We're going to have a whole section on HAFA and many other things. Make the adjustments to the HUD as necessary. So if they sent you an approval and it's okay with you and you hadn't yet changed your HUD, you're going to want to give that approval over to the selling, well, if you're the listing agent, you'll have it. You'll want to give it to escrow or title. You're going to want to probably let your seller know. That'd probably be a good idea. It'd be a really good idea to let the buyer's agent know if you're not double ending that. If the buyer walked, you would list it as an approved short sale so long as the lender will allow you to slip a new person in. Otherwise, that's a little bit deceptive. You could put in agent remarks, bank approved 294 prior and get away with that. That's what some people do. Let title know that it's approved and send them the approval, buy, sell, anything else, okay? They'll arrange the closing, okay? They'll send out the closing docs to buyer and seller if they're not coming in to sign, okay? Oftentimes, just before or just after you close, you have other tasks that need to be performed, especially inside of Equator under your tasks, okay? But such as extending the approval date if it goes a little long, redoing the HUDs, getting the final HUD approval, certified HUD approval, these kinds of things. Again, if there's a sale date, make sure that, you're still, just because you have an approval doesn't mean they're automatically going to extend the sale dates, okay? They will, or they're supposed to do that on HAFA, but sometimes they just plumb forget, okay? And it's your job to still watch the sale date. Once you get that approval, everything is not hunky-dory, I can tell you, okay? All right, so let's go look at an approval real quick, and I want you to see some certain things inside here. All right. Okay. I need you to notice that on this approval with Lender Business Process Services, the current servicer of the above reference loan is pleased to advise you that we have approved the discounted payoff for the loan in the amount of $221,647.56. Now that is not the sales price, which includes a borrower cash contribution of $500. This was before California outlawed cash contributions. Okay. This discount expires on 5/23/2011. So what I have here is I have an approval that tells me the net proceeds that the bank will accept. Everybody sees that right there. I'm not sure if you can see my mouse, but hopefully you can see what I'm doing there. $221,647.56, which includes a borrower cash contribution of $500. Okay? It tells me the cash contribution, the minimum net they're going to take, the discount or the expiration date. So if I'm closing any time after 5/23 or recording, sometimes I might close 5/20 and then it records 5/23. But the recording when it's of record and wires have been sent, everything no later than 5/23. Okay, that's what they mean by that. It's all done. They've got their money by 5/23. Okay, some states do it different, but that's the date. That's D-Day. If you're closing after that, you're going to need to call this company and you're going to need to get an extension. To accept this offer, you need to keep a track of this stuff. It needs to go on your tasks. It needs to go on your Outlook calendar. It needs to do all that stuff. Okay, you need to set yourself reminders inside the system or whatever that this is the day when this is going to happen. Okay, to accept this offer, you must complete the following steps. We must receive your fully signed notarized copy of this letter. Blah blah blah. You've got to get $221,647 to us. Okay, the purchase price. Now here's the thing. So someone says, all right, well, okay, they're going to take $221, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to counter back to the buyer at $270,000. Granted, this okay. I'm going to counter back to the buyer at $270,000. I'm going to get myself paid 21% commission. That's not how it works. All right, because they're also going to put in here normally. It's either as you have submitted it, okay, or they're going to put the sales price in there. So this particular one had to be $250,000. Okay. The junior lien releases are not to exceed $6,000. Realtor commission not to exceed 6%. Closing costs not to exceed $7,500. All right. So this was a good deal all around. Okay. But there's a lot of information in here that you need to get. Okay. Now, what I'm doing, and it's really vague in here, but they release deficiencies now in California all the time anyway. However, here then they didn't necessarily do that. But this one right here says LBPS will execute a release or discharge of deed. That is not deficiency release verbiage. Okay, what is deficiency release verbiage is right here. We'll dismiss any pending legal action to collect this obligation. All right, that would be your deficiency release verbiage. Although we don't need it in the state of California as of January 1st for first liens and as of July 15th, I believe it was, or 14th for second mortgages or any residential properties in California. They will dismiss any pending legal action to collect this obligation. So that is your deficiency release verbiage should you have needed it. Okay? But here, LBPS may issue a 1099-C, forgiveness of debt as a result of the settlement. We'll talk about how to get around that, although you're not a CPA. All right, so those are the important things that you would see or get from in approval. Okay, those are all the things that you need to look at. Okay, you need to really read those because sometimes, and you need to compare that 221 to the HUD that you sent in because you might have sent in a HUD where your net's 229 and to the bank, and so now you see that you're $8,000 away. So just because you get an approval, you still want to look it over. But what I mean, sometimes you get an approval here, get the offer or counteroffer. So that may have just been an offer. But what I mean is when you're done hemming and hawing, be careful. But still read that rascal over. They'll try to slide some stuff by on you. Okay. All right, let's talk about pulling a prelim because this is really important. Okay, you must pull a preliminary title report. There's nothing worse than finding out this property has an IRS tax lien, a mechanics lien, HOA dues, or something funky clouding the title. We're going to teach you how to remove IRS tax liens from titles, how to remove HOAs, how to negotiate with HOAs this afternoon after lunch. But we're going to really get into the problem solving of the files, and that takes up a majority of the class. Okay, but it's just really important that people get it. Okay, so you got to pull a preliminary title report. There's nothing worse than finding out the house has an IRS tax lien, mechanics lien, HOA dues, or something funky clouding the title. Okay. In Montana, in all states, a listing prelim may not always show the liens. Okay, so you really need to really need to look at the prelim and to look at all of those liens. But you also need to really talk to the seller because some of the liens may not be on there. They might be pending, okay, depending on what time of year it is, etc. So you really must find out about all of those things. I've got a question here. Hold on. Okay. Just a second. Let me read the question. Question about the package. Isn't it supposed to put name, last four of Social Security number of? Okay. Yeah. We have different. Anyways, Elizabeth, I can talk to you about that later on. Yeah, for sure. Okay. In Montana, a listing prelim may not always show all liens, so it's important to get these answers from the sellers to avoid any last-minute hiccups. Look at the prelim. If not everything's on the prelim sometimes, so if there's an IRS lien that's coming or pending, that's what we'll do, okay? So let's look at the prelim of a property you should not take. All right, so let's do this. This is a prelim. You should not take this, okay? Okay. Here's a prelim. I got some past due taxes there. That's okay. The bank will pay those. Going to have to pay them anyway. Let me get down to where it's bad. Okay. Got a first and a second. Okay. All right. Now, I got a lien for $3,700 to the landscapers. I got HOA past due for $25.67. By the time there was a lot more than that by the time we got it. The painter never got paid. Other taxes, county taxers, okay, county taxes, tax liens. This is all public knowledge, which is why I can show this, okay, public record. Desert Finish never got paid. I mean, there's 7 or 8 things on here by the time I get down to the bottom of it. This is a property that you would not want to take, okay? So if you got a prelim like this, you'd want to turn and run away. You would ask them if these things were valid. If they were not, sometimes they're still on here, sometimes they were settled, but if they were, I would not take this listing, period, okay? I absolutely wouldn't. Mark says he puts Avery labels with the seller's name and loan number. This is then put on every page I'm faxing to the bank. Yeah. Here, I'm going to show you something. All right. Okay. Okay, so page number, the software automatically does that. Client's name, last four of their social, and the loan number. And it will do that whatever you fax it to, it'll do it for every page. So yeah. Yep. Okay. So I like that. That's the best thing that I built into that thing that I love. All right. That saves me like 6 hours. Okay, so we looked at a prelim. Yeah, so you definitely want to get, all of that information. Yeah, for sure, up ahead of time.